we're up and running. If you have not been to this before, I do these when I can publicly once a month, where we're at with the Bitcoin market and other charts that I think are interesting. Normally day to day, I run a service at ElliottWaveTrader.net. It is trade service. I do everything from intraday to swing trading across crypto, focusing on Bitcoin and some equity, also some crypto equities. So if that interests you, check it out, ElliottWaveTrader.net. If you want to sign up, there is no credit cards taken. You'll get some marketing email. So even if it's not for you, you can just cancel just by not attending. You're not going to get a lot of pressure from us. It's not right for everybody. Some people don't want to get into the noise of intraday market. So I'm just fixing my screen as I go, as I talk. It's helpful for a lot of people I know. So welcome. Just other housekeeping. I do this every third Saturday. I wasn't able to do it in February because I had too much travel. When I cut out webinars for subscribers, which I had to do, I don't continue with I don't have a public webinar that month. So make sure I have as much time with subscribers as possible. So that's why I did that. But we are back here in March. There doesn't seem like there will be one in April either, because I have 1 weekend of travel in April, the last week of April. So I would be cutting out a more in-depth webinar that I do with subscribers to hold the public. And I don't, again, that's I think it's kind of rude to be honest. Those that are on the service every day. So don't want to do that. But yeah, we'll do it now. Then we'll see where we're at in April. As usual, I don't take any requests live in webinars. On a normal subscriber, on a normal week, I take a bunch of requests from subscribers the day before, and so that I can prep. I'm not doing that now. If you have a question about a chart and I know it by heart, I'll share it. I don't have a problem if I can answer very quickly. But if I don't have it, I'm not going to have open up new charts when I have open already. You can see what I've got going on. Got Bitcoin, Circle, Coin, Hood, BMNR. Hype is the only coin other than Bitcoin I'm going to cover. Those are just the ones I looked at this morning across all of my charts and thought were interesting, worth talking about, maybe have some opportunities coming up. So that's what I thought. But if you have questions and I know a quick answer, I don't mind answering it without bringing up a chart, making the webinar too belabored. Usually try to cut these to 30 minutes. Sometimes they go into an hour, depending on the sort of how lively the discussion is. So let's jump into Bitcoin. If you guys have been on this for, have been subscribed or followed my work in Seeking Alpha when I wrote for Seeking Alpha, et cetera, I was looking for Bitcoin to top in the 125K area. 126 is pretty good. So we are pretty much in a bear market right now. I will just say there were some adjustments to my viewpoint in the last couple months where I saw this 54K as a slight potential of producing a run to 150, perhaps even 160. To be really clear, I see the likelihood of that very slim, but let's watch. It's possible that we're going to 154K post haste. So talk about that as well. But at least so far, and the other thing I want to say, a lot of people, they get really used to Elliott wave theory during impulses, and they don't understand that once you start forming these very large corrective patterns in the bear market, there's just so much more variation in corrective waves. And I don't want to say, I don't like talking about any analysis technique as sort of prediction. I think prediction is a very dirty word in markets because no one really knows what the market's going to do. We only speak about it. We only swim in probabilities. And really that's why managing risk is the number one key in trading, is because anytime you're wrong, you don't want to be in a position where you get blown out, right? And I'm wrong a good deal. I'm also right a good deal, and if I can make a lot of money being right 50-50, to be honest, because I manage the risk side super tight and I let the winners run when I get them. And that's how, I'm quite happy to be 50-50 right. And the reality is it can sway. I'll be hot for a while, I'll be cold for a while. That's just the way an analyst runs. It's the way a trader runs. So that said, don't take this as financial advice, none of it. And if you're not managing the risk side like I am, you're going to do a lot more poor than I am. If you're looking for a crystal ball, you're going to do a lot worse than I am, because I'm not even looking for crystal ball. I'm just looking for some parameters for a few trades with some risk managed. And, you know, some of those trades are big, some of those trades are small. And, you know, which, you know, there's a lot of deeper ways of discussing how you manage a portfolio and money and all that stuff that needs to be learned over time. So anyway, so be careful when we're in this big corrective waves, all these ABCs, to you get too used to impulses being super clean and quote unquote predictive. It's less so when you're in this. And I'm going to talk about a lot of things that if we do this, if we do that, I always speak that way, but it's even more so in a corrective wave. And so I'm finding even my own subscribers who should know this, or ideally know this, are asking for a lot more things than I can say right now. Okay. So that's definitely the case right now. The market has only been so clear, and the big clarity is looking at this chart right here. You should all be seeing a very clear, strong daily trend on the daily, right? Daily downtrend, right? It's a bear market. We've been down for months, and there's no sign of let up. This is not an impulsive reversal. Okay, it is not. Okay, can it turn into a diagonal? Which, if you know Elliott Wave, you understand what I'm saying. It can. It's very far from indicating that right now. This is not going to take us to 150 in all probability. Okay, it can change its mind. It can go into diagonal and then set up for 150. But right now, as of stand, living in the present, this is what we have, and it is not about reversal. The bear market is not over right now. Okay. The question is whether right now is whether we seem to be indicating possibly of setting up to 54K, but there's some other parameters. So let's go into the hourly. My ideal state, and this is sort of just selfish because I got some longs off this low, February low, is that we I did press record, right? Yes, I did. Okay, good. I always double check that. I forget. I did get some longs off low. It's my selfish cases that we can get up to 95. It measured off of this low. This is the possible range of this B wave, possible range. Okay. I even have it way up here at 160. It's always potential. Okay. The more norm in Bitcoin actually is at this scale of a bear market is to get a very low hit around. Actually, there is even a historic. I should have it on here. I should have put it on here, but the 50-week moving average is often the first hit test after hitting the 200-week moving average. Again, will that play out this time? And I think that's somewhere around at 100. So that would be a very big norm. It's always potential that doesn't happen until later. We're coming down to 55K, 54K. And then that, of course, that moving average will move lower, you know, again. And at the same time, that's only historical norm. It may not happen this time, right? So so this is what I would like to see, okay? The problem I have here is every single long setup that took us out of this range is broken. And that's certainly where we're at now, where we seem to have an impulsive reversal down back into the range. That impulsive reversal in this context can either mean that we're seeing an A, B, and C, which should hold 64,250, or we're gonna get a nice 5-wave move to get another low off of this 4. It might be this 5th might be in play right now. I thought most certainly it was Friday earlier or yesterday, but it's pressed up to top of this range. Looks pretty likely that it's getting rejection. So we'll see how that develops. We might get the 5th. If we get the 5th, that really wants to be this red count. It doesn't have to be. We can have a lower A's, can be 3 waves or 5 waves. So it could be the A. But if we do get the 5th wave down, I will prefer the red setup for 54K. If it stays 3 waves, that leaves them both open. And also I should say the higher this B is, the better for holding this 64,253, which is support I have, 253, rounded off 250. And even even when you're talking about B waves, you got to give them some more room than even the standard support. 64,250 and it can hold. So as it stands right now, whether we hold this B, which is key for getting us a climb into that 50-week average, or B wave top 100, you know, put it at 100 right now until I have a better target. You know, we'll get some clues this week. Obviously we want to see a 3-wave. We want to see a higher B wave. And the higher this B wave is, the better. That'll give us that more room. If 64,250 breaks, Also, if I see a move smaller out of this B2 zone that is smaller and asymmetric, smaller than this A or 1, and thereby asymmetric, that also is an indication that the red is playing out, which is a kind of a little trick in Elliott Wave. If when you see a smaller truncated move, it's usually the first of a third and not the C and a B in this context. So that will be an early clue we might get early next week to get us a chance to get more short into this red count. So there's a lot to wait for this week for sure. It's going to be key. By and large, the market is range bound, yeah, we're gonna have to wait. I want to zoom us out again and talk, I talked about corrective waves, and I've had a lot of requests when I print B waves on my charts about where those B wave levels are. Again, I want to remind, and there was even a question this morning on the board, these B waves have big ranges. Okay, that's why we say B is for a bastard. I always say that. I can say in this regard is big bastard because this is a large B wave and it's a large range. How do we target these B waves? We actually, when we're trying to find a B wave top, we're not actually targeting the B wave. We are targeting the C inside the B. So you can see that this B is made up of A, B, C. Sometimes it's a triangle. Sometimes it's a WXY. We start with a standard ABC expectation, and so once we have the 1, 2 that forms, I'll draw it out just so we can see what that might look like. Again, we don't know exactly where it is because we're far from getting there. But where's my elevators? Sorry, I can't talk and do charts at the same time sometimes. So this is sort of a sketch, if you will, of what that C will look like in a standard sense. And once we have this 1, 1, 2 in place, then I can target where this, C and B, and narrow the expected range of this wide to, a much more narrow range. It's always possible as well to be more tricky is that after this B come down correctively, we can get an even larger B. But at least starting with the standard single kind of 3 legs. Okay, I can't target this B more precisely until this 1, 2 is in place because I have a setup for a clean target off the 1, 2 for this C, at least a target. And then further, we got another C down here, and I have this sketch, right now anywhere between 30 and it go down to 10 comfortably. The location for this is highly dependent on the location of this B, because once we have this A, well, we can expect this C to be 1 to 1,382 is a typical range of a C as compared to A. Okay, and sometimes they're much longer, but giving you kind of the base case. Okay, but that doesn't do us a whole lot of good for targeting the C until we have a top and B, right? So when you do corrective waves, you have to let it unfurl, right? You have to let the market give you step, and I have as it puts in a bottom, there's a standard target and a target. There's a standard target and target. I'm not talking very well. And a standard setup to come out of that B wave bottom, which is this 1, 2, that will help us develop this target. And same thing when we're coming down in the C, we'll see some kind of 5-wave move out of it, or it could be corrective if it's a diagonal in the C, and then we'll get a wave 2, and that'll develop a target from 2 standpoints: one, the A down to here, and the 1, 2 setup for here to get a tight target. It may end up, if this B is all the way at 160, we may have a C way up at 50 again, right? So that's entirely possible. I would not bet your trading money on that going really high until it's evident that it is, right? If you're going to be sitting here and say, well, if this bear market is only going to get us down to 50, well, I'm going to trade like crazy right here, right? That's a mistake. So you can see how the crystal ball attitude can break you right here and now if you're trying to work ahead using a crystal ball and you're not able to be patient with the market and allow each step of the market to get precise. Okay, so I start with a sketch of basic expectations, and as each of these kind of I call them waypoints almost, it's like the market goes through its waypoints. If you're into navigation, as those waypoints form, then the next, sort of the parameters for the next form starts to come into view. That makes sense. So, so that's, it can feel like a crystal ball when we get a setup. When we get a 1, 2 setup, I mean, that's the closest thing to a crystal ball you get in Elliott Wave because you tend to get a very tight parameters on the setup and risk to reward. So that's where, often, Elliott Wave theory starts to feel predictive or feel prescient or, like a crystal ball. And even then I would dispense with it because really what it is a structure that you can measure your risk to reward in a very precise way. That's the value of it. So, so I'm always urging you guys to kind of change your viewpoint of not just Elliott Wave, but just technical analysis in if you're, not a professional trader and don't do this every day, but you want to come around to the market and try to pull some money out of it, change your view that you even need a crystal ball and prediction. You need risk to reward setups and more particularly measurable risk so that you don't blow yourself up constantly trying to make money in the market. All right, that is far more important. All right, so that is Bitcoin laid out. Again, the biggest bottom line is that we are in a range, obviously, to state the obvious, off a really important low. That low holding in the short term is questionable right now. 64,250 is the pivot between that low holding and us going lower to 54 for another that would be a restart of this B, meaning this alternate A pattern. You can see I wrote it here. Alternate A low in that 54 region. Then we'll be watching for another setup rally. Hopefully, we get a stronger rally out of it because this one, started off really strong, but really weakened into this range. If we do get that low, I would expect a little more potential because yes, the market will be more bearish, more fearful. All of those are opportunities for strong reversal when you have everyone freaked out. So that may be the case. I think in general this bear market has a lot of people not fearful enough, which means ultimately what will probably be the very painful bear market that I expect. But we'll take that each low at a time, each rally at a time to see how this continues to unravel. What else do I need to say? I think that is at least for Bitcoin all that I'm going to say. Are there any questions and comments at this stage? Just got a few. Can I please correct the screen resolution? I don't know how to correct the screen resolution on GoTo. I'm fully wired. I don't use Wi-Fi for security, but also for better bandwidth. And so I'm on about as a high bandwidth internet as I possibly can. So I'm not sure if you know how to do that in. I have a fairly low res monitor, but it's pretty clear to me. So I'm not sure if it's just you or if it's me. I have never had that feedback actually. You're saying it's blurry. I think you are the only ones, John Smiley, you're the only one saying it's blurry. So it may be you. I'm sorry if you said it over and over. All right. Everyone else's people are literally saying resolution looks good to me. So I have to assume it's you, John. All right. So do you think in 2026 we get 96K? I have no idea, Willie. Again, back to the crystal ball speech. Right now, let's live in the present. Okay. Right now, living in the present, we have no setup for 96. Okay, not at all. If that setup shows, like we get this 1-2 here. Let's see. I gotta go to Trading View. It's also if we get this 1-2 here. Okay, then I can start to say, okay, because these impulses tend to move quick when you have a nice clean 1-2 setup and impulse. You can start to give it some time frame. But saying here right now and here we're in March. I mean, we got 9 months. Is it plausible? Sure. But the market is not set up for 96 right now. So I can't say. Unanswerable question. All right. Any other? Yeah, a lot of people are just saying screen is fine on desktop. My resolution is okay. So yeah, it is. I'm getting more confirmation that it's you, John. Sorry. It's like I got the fattest bandwidth I can buy. Seriously, here in Pierce County, Washington, out in the country. Any other questions? And I'm sorry I can't predict that, Willie, but we just don't have enough. Again, back to my ramble, we just do not have information on the market. It's a bear market, and generally when you're a bear market, you got to accept and expect bear market outcomes. Does that mean you don't buy? Well, I mean, to me, the whole entire bear market will be a great accumulation phase. It's just I'm only been saying to you guys for the last 2 years that this phase is probably like a 5-year sideways movement with maybe some all-time highs along the way. You know, we may get some B waves that take us out to all-time highs very briefly, but the whole thing will be largely sideways accumulation in a big giant range, like 10,000 to 160, possibly 225 is possible. But if we're at 225, we're only going to be there briefly. There's not going to be $1 million unless the setup is right. But it's going to be a big opportunity to accumulate, but also take some profit along the way too. When we get to all-time highs, if it's corrective, I want to be selling and taking that opportunity to bank it. Any other questions? All right, we'll move on. So I'm going to give you guys 5 charts that I think are interesting right now. First one is, you know, and some of these are going to be more timely than others, but we can talk through that. Circle is very interesting. You know, it's always classic that, you know, IPOs are sold. In fact, some of our analysts have this term called the CAB IPO acronym. It's like a long acronym, CAB IPO. I don't remember what the CAB and IPO means, but basically it means that IPOs upon release end up being dumpster fires, so to speak, usually. At least, you know, you can look back at Meta. I remember is the one that I traded. Meta and Coin were the 2 CAB IPOs that I traded the best. I was in Meta, I was just waited for the long. In Coin, I was shorting into the first move down. Of course, we're now in a coin bear market again, or potentially at least seems to be that way, which I'll get to next. And this was no different. And we were shorting Circle early days. You know, we didn't have some. I don't think my short performance was quite, you know, had huge merit, but you know, we got some short trades out of it, and now it seems to be reversing the opposite. What I want to be very clear is, and again, back to the crystal ball comment. You can see here I have a projection to 544, and that's probably many years out. Don't ignore my time frames on charts because they have a tendency to stretch out. But this, I want to say very clearly that all of this is, let me get rid of this. All of this is not valid until we have 5 waves, which we do not have right now. We're progressing to third, but it's a very strong third. We took a long, or, you know, I suggested a potential of a long setup back in this 1-2. That certainly has played out. In fact, I took a lot of profit taking early because this third is so overextended. I still have a core holding that I'm hanging on to. Right now, it is possible that this is the third top and it's still extending, but it does look to me like the fourth has finally started. Basically, I have support here, which is the 50% retrace of the third at 89. Actually, it looks like it migrated. Let me just double check that. Oh, I've just tightened it up. Okay, we can even loosen it up to 86. Moving that a little bit, and I'll deal with that later. So 86 right now, and I can argue even for giving it some more room. I'm going to be adding back in the 94 region if this fourth continues to develop. If it gets extension in the third, I'll have to change those levels. And then this target here, nominal target right now, is 146, provided this holds. So there's a good range, kind of a range-ish trade with a little extension here between the fourth and the fifth. And then I'll want to take substantial profit there. I might hold a small core, and then we'll watch this too, which can be a very deep retrace, right? So at any rate, this has been a great trade. Circle, of course, is not really crypto per se. It's really a dollar asset, asset company, but it's involved in blockchain with their stablecoin product, UCSD. But it's certainly something we cover in the service, and it is looking really good for the future. Let's see what else to say about this. Yeah, just look good. And again, just to remind you guys, to expect 544, we need 5 waves in one, and we need this to hold. I don't know where this level is going to be exactly until I have 5 wave top, but it looks like it's going to be somewhere around 65. So in the coming days, we'll want to see this not go as low as roughly 65, but that will be tuned as we go. So very promising. The other one is Coin. Let me see. I don't know if I just realized I don't know if I did update TradingView with my entire chart. So yeah, I mean, this was another one that we had short back in the day, and we've caught most of this upturn from the all-time low. And what we're looking at in Coinbase is it is not an impulsive reversal. This is a diagonal, very clearly. But we've come down, kind of nailed the top. I mean, not unlike Bitcoin, it was pretty close to it. And we've come down in the first leg. It is entirely possible, guys, that this is our wave 2 low. But right now it's a low expectation because this reversal is not impulsive. It is clearly, at least most likely, an A, unless we get all 5 waves in the diagonal itself. So diagonal inside a larger diagonal, not so fun. So I do expect this this bear market to continue, but we're probably going to range, again, estimate between this 147 low, 147-ish low, and possibly as high as 400, maybe 480 in this B wave structures for probably the rest of the year is my guess. Again, like Willie asked about his target in Bitcoin for 2026, I don't really know here, but I'm estimating. Right now the question is whether this A is going to get us all the way up to 250 or not. I am nominally long, but have been taking profit very fast in this because it, and I forget where my first sells, I think they were somewhere around 180, because when we're dealing with corrective waves, just like Bitcoin, take profit, see profit, take profit. Okay, so I have taken a lot of it off. If it happens to get up to 270, I will go flat and get out of all of it. And then I'll also be just like in Bitcoin, I'll be looking for long setups and short setups to focus on as they form. Probably the next one, at least ideally here, sets up around 250, but I still really don't know. So that's interesting. But again, like Circle, like Bitcoin, I do expect this wave 2 to be a great opportunity provided it holds. If this is our top in one, we do have a level for this low, and that's 58. See, let me put another blue line on there. 58. So as long as coin is over 58, I am bullish for the future way out. So basically the next decade. But it'll give a lot of smaller time frame opportunities along the way. I don't want to hold. We're here at 150. I don't want to just buy coin and just hold 358. That's too much of a drawdown for me as a trader. But I don't mind trading the spaces in here as we go. Next one is Hood. Hood is a little trickier chart. I am proposing that this is our wave 1. I think it's possible that if we hold, let me put a level on it. If we hold in this pullback at 35, it's possible that we do get a fifth load extension of 316. So we'll see how that goes if it gets deeper into here. But right now I assume it is in wave 2, so it's going to again start with that standard ABC. This ABC, in all wave 2, we can get it very flat like that, or it can be very zigzaggy like this. We don't know. Again, that's how corrective waves are unclear in the beginning, and we have to go with each waypoint in the market. And then, but close in, I called a put position, a put trade, because it turned very bearish out of this 4 and is aimed at least 59, so 65 to 59 right now. So I will get long in that zone. We've got some puts to ride here. So far, the trade is working great. As we get into the 59 zone, I'll be wanting to consider long. Again, from today, I don't know whether that long is going to be perhaps the bottom of an impulse to 300, perhaps this B wave here, which again, ABC structures is not going to be much fun. But again, that's back to that theme I've been giving you guys to wait for each waypoint for the market and what the market does at those zones. So that's I'll start with the base case of a B wave, and then we'll go from there. So long around 65. This will be a hot knife, guys. It's back to the bear market trading principles. Don't use any leverage, especially those crap leverage ETFs. Trade very small. If you want to be very safe, when I buy in a place like this, I'm using like 5% of the money I intend. Seriously, 5%, maybe 10% at most. And then as soon as we get a low, I can put a stop underneath it, and then build on the position as the setup forms, I can get more aggressive, maybe even add some options if the setup is right. But until we have that low, it is catching a hot knife in that zone, again, in the $59 zone. So that's that one. That's Hood. That could be an interesting one. And I'll look at questions. If you have questions on these guys, I'll look at them after I'm done. Just got a couple more. All right. So the next one is BMNR. I was actually looking up for the red box, and then we had failure this week below the support line. So, and not only do we have failure below the support line, it did in 5 waves. It is entirely potential that this is an ABC with, let's see, it's entirely possible that this ends up just extending this range and then getting back to breaking out. That's actually possible with this setup. But as soon as I see 5 waves off of a high like this in something that's been beautifully downtrending like that, I want to short. So watching where this see how this 2 forms, and if it forms nice and correctively, I will want to get into, and when with me, I don't short shares. I get into put options. I just prefer that. I like to play volatility and gamma. I don't like carrying cost of a trade, which are technically built into options, but in the theta fade, but I don't like having to pay that on my brokerage firm account. But anyway, support resistance is let me just check this. Sorry, double check it just so I give you the right level. Yeah, so resistance level, yeah, it's around 22. I mean, for stop wise, I'll just want to use the top anyway, but this should stay under actually 23. Now we'll see how that forms, and if it's nice and corrective. And what I mean is, again, an ABC, so 3 waves like that. I want to get into those puts. So this is probably the most short-term opportunity I see. The other one might be Circle, if it can hurry up and get through this 4th wave real quickly, but it doesn't seem to want to do that. And then lastly is Hype, and Hype is the only reasonably long coin or long trade I've seen a coin right now. Interestingly enough, I know that there's a lot of activity on Hype. It's got a lot of adoption, but I just want to say very clearly, going long a crypto setup in a bear market is always dangerous. So you've got to use your stop, because if this thing fails, it's going to new all-time lows. I want to say that very clearly. It is just a setup. It is not a crystal ball. It's a bear market. It may break. The basic expectation for me is that this is a C wave to 116. I'm going to put a blue setup on here again. I think this is ridiculous to expect during a bear market, but I mean, if it really wants to play a full impulse, it projects to between 430 and 450. Again, I don't believe it, but hey, you know, if it starts to look more like that is playing out, we'll just ride it. Take a runner, go. And right now it appears we have a little tiny 5-wave move off this B, so I expect us to come back to at least 27 right now. That may change. We may, if we get another wave higher, I can call this a leading diagonal, and it more than likely is already on its way to the C wave. But right now I do expect this top to hold and for it to come down to C. We'll see if that changes. I don't have a position yet. I need to, I just noticed that it is on Kraken. That's why I added it to the service. And so watch how that develops. That may take a couple weeks to actually come down to that C, but we'll see if it starts to hurry up. So those are the 5 charts. Again, Circle looks like a long-term long, as long as all of its support holds. Again, no crystal balls involved here, but we have a wave 4 in the 86 region that we can play. Coin is, I think I call this an accumulation phase, but with a lot of range trading, but it is big ranges. So I am zealous to trade that in both directions. Hood, very much the same. It could go up to 340, but also drop. Let's see, did I estimate support on this? I think I did, but we don't have it. Oh, it's locked in at 14. As long as this high holds as a wave 1. So 14 is, so we treat the range like 316 to 14, and we'll look at smaller time setups to navigate waypoints in between. Lots of great trading that will be involved there. BMR is just a giant dumpster fire. I'm sorry, Tom Lee, but this is garbage. So far, we're forming 5 waves off the all-time high after being announced that it's going to be an Ethereum treasury company. It looks terrible. Okay, it might change, but right now it looks awful. And I just want to short it. I will never want to be long this based on the long-term chart. And right now we potentially have a short-term setup to add to that at 23. I don't have a position right now. And then lastly, hype. We'll see how long this long lasts. Right now we have a good long setup that can take it up to 430. Trades on Kraken if you're in the US. Maybe there's some other opportunities. I haven't not got involved in the hype protocol. I just I've gotten tired of like setting up new accounts. Well, I know it's through a wallet. I had set, getting involved in new protocols constantly. I've got that kind of fatigue chasing every hot thing. I'm now at this stage where I put my Bitcoin into a cold wallet and then do some trading on the normal exchanges that I have. I'm just getting less excited about chasing every new hot thing these days. But if you're on the hype protocol, there's an opportunity here, and that opportunity is dead below 23. So we have some pretty clear levels to manage risk, at least dead short term. I mean, it's possible there's another secondary level around 15, but there's no after 23 blows, and this setup being as pretty as it is blows. I would not want to be involved in it below 23 until it clearly shows another impulse around the 15 region. So there's that. That is what I've got for y'all. And let's see, what kind of questions do we have? You are definitely leaning towards the ending the ED count at this time, 60-40. John, I don't know which chart you're talking about. Are you talking about Bitcoin, and is that 60K, 40K? Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to clarify your question. I'm not clear what you're asking. Sorry. Symbol of BitMine is, yeah, BMNR. That's the Tom Lee special. BMNR, BitMine. Let's see, let's see, questions. Yeah, John, if you want to clarify your questions. We only have 2 questions, guys. If you guys got any more questions, ask away. But John, I'd like to answer your question, but I need clarification. Which chart, All right. Any other questions, guys? I'll give you guys a few minutes before I get the video up. And then if you're on, Avi's market service, I will post the chart. I posted a thread with the link to the webinar this morning. I'll post it in there. You just got to give it some time to get up, to get on the site, and then on Twitter, I'll post a link on my Twitter account to the video as well. John Smiley says the resolution's okay now. That's good. Glad. And John, if it's based on my screen, which I believe it is, the video should be good too. So anything you missed, once I get the video up, and you get the link, it should be good. Because I don't know, it never looked blurry on my end. MSTR, I didn't plan to cover MSTR. I don't have much actionable in it. I mean, it's ranging like Bitcoin. I'm looking lower right now. I forget what the level of flow, it's like 114 or something like that. We'll see what happens there. That's what I like. I was expecting a bigger rally, but like Bitcoin got rejected in its range and got sent back down. So it's failure. So I'm looking lower right now. That's my TLDR, but yeah, without the chart. It just isn't a chart that's interesting to me right now. I'm covering it every day, but not doing much with it. I have a small MSTR position, super small, not very interesting. Any other questions? Going once, going twice. All right, I'm going to sign off. If you, I can somewhat answer questions here and there on Twitter. If you can think of something, I'll do my best, but I intend to really enjoy my weekend and do very little trading until Sunday night. And then again, for subscribers, I'll get all the charts up for you guys and video links for everyone else. And have a good weekend and be safe out there. Talk to you guys later.